Prapadye Niravadyanam Nishatyang Gunasampadam Sharanam Bhobhitanam Shatakopam Ishwaram Sri Rankanatha Shatakopayati Intratrashtam Lakshmi Nisumba Shadajit Karunika Patram Sri Rankavir Raghurat Shatakopakrityam Vedanta Deshiketi Indramaham Prapadye Srimad Rankajatarisamiviral Labdhagamantadvayam Srimad Viragudvaha Dhyadajit Padar Vindashrayam Srimad Vedavatam Sadeshikete Karunya Vikshaspadam Seve Rangadhrina Shasanavasham Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Deshiketi Jagatakshalabdhatrayintasaram Anavadyagunam Budhagryam Narayana Dhyatitur Jagrupa Vishiktam Sri Rankanatha Yatishekaram Ashrayamaha Srimate Sri Vantatagova Sri Vedanta Deshiketi Indramaha Deshikaya Namaha Srimate Sri Lakshmi Narasimha Paduka Sevaka Sri Vantatagova Sri Narayana Yatindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Srimate Sri Vantatagova Sri Ranganatha Yatindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha. Welcome everyone. Welcome once again to our Saturday Sri Ahobila storytelling sessions. So today's stories, in a way, are a continuation to what Narayana Prasad Mama told you last week. Last week he was telling you about the story of Nachiketas, and the story of Nachiketas has some very, very important messages for us, both about the true nature of Perumal, the true nature of who we are, how to reach Perumal, and all those things, right? But there is one more aspect to that story which we will try to develop upon based on a couple of other stories today. And the theme of today's today's discussions is what you see on the screen, the ideal student. Okay, so we are trying to see who is the ideal student. In the past, we have seen, how should we learn? We should persevere. We should ask questions. We should work hard to learn, and so on. Today, we are going to see one more dimension of that, on what the meaning of an ideal student is. In a way, what we are trying to say is, if we are to be a good student, if we are to actually learn what we want to learn, what kind of attributes do we need to inculcate in ourselves, right? And when we say student, it could apply to anything. Of course, it could be student of biology, of chemistry, whatever. But the context in which we are going to talk about the ideal student, or the job of the student, or the objective of the student, is all in the context of trying to learn more about Perumal. Okay, like we have said so many times in the past in these classes, the most we all learn a lot of things, right? We go to school, we learn a lot of things, a lot of different kinds of knowledge come and are made available to us. But of all those kinds of knowledge, what the scriptures tell us, what the Vedas tell us, what the Upanishads and the Puranas, all of them say, is that there are so many things to learn in the world. But of all those things, the one thing that is most important to learn about is Perumal. Okay, if we learn about all these other things and we fail to learn about Perumal, then that is no use. Okay, but if we understand everything about Perumal, if we understand everything about our relationship with Perumal and so on, then all these other things will fall in place almost naturally. Okay, so in today's world, we can't say, okay, we'll stop learning about all those other things, we'll only focus on Perumal. Not a lot of us have the luxury to do that. But at the same time, if a little bit of our energy, a little bit of our attention is spent on learning about Perumal, then a lot of other things will fall in place almost automatically. So then now you have to ask the question of, how should we be as a student? Who is the ideal student? Are there some examples of people who we can learn about? And maybe you take a leaf out of their book, then you'll be able to say, okay, you know what, maybe this is the way we have to approach the process of learning. Okay, so that's what we are going to try and explore today. Okay, so we are going to talk about, like we always do, we are going to talk about two stories. Okay, one story is from the Upanishads, and another story is from our Guru Parampara. And again, like we always say, there is so much commonality between what happened in ancient history and what happened in the relatively recent history. So we have no excuse to say that, oh, we cannot continue what that way of learning. Okay, so if it happened 5,000 years ago and it happened 1,000 years ago, there's no harm in saying that we can try and implement that today as well. Okay, so that's why we always look at very old stories from the Upanishads and what our acharyas have done, because the acharyas are people who we can relate to. We get so many things about our acharyas. Anyway, so with that long introduction, let's go to the first story. The first story is that of this person called SatyakAma Jabala. Okay, now SatyakAma Jabala is a somewhat famous story. A lot of people have talked about the story, and that the story has several dimensions. Okay, so if you ask, it depends on who you ask. They will tell you they'll tell you different angles that they take away from the story of SatyakAma Jabala. Okay, but our acharyas have shown us the most important things that we need to take away from this story. Okay, now before I go into the story, let me ask a question. Has any of you heard about the story of SatyakAma Jabala? Anybody? Okay, good, no problem. If you've not heard about the story, we'll talk about it in some detail today anyway.
Mama?
Yeah.
நான் வந்து லாஸ்ட் டைம் வந்து இந்த நீங்க சொன்ன ஸ்டோரி கேட்கல. கிளாஸ் முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஒரு சின்ன ஜிஸ்ட் தரேடா.
About last time story பத்தியா? Last week story பத்தியா?
ஆமா.
Sure. Absolutely. Sure.
Because அதுல இருந்து கண்டினியூ பண்றதுன்னு சொல்றேன். So I feel it would be better if I know that story.
Sure. Okay. Definitely. அதுல இருந்து continue, there is some common theme. So what I was saying was, for those who came last week, you will see the connection. But if you missed last week, you're not going to miss any context today, because they are two separate stories. Well, after the class, like you said, after the class, we can talk about what the common threads are. We can see if anybody else also has some thoughts to say about the common threads. Okay.
Okay, Mama.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Ma. Yeah, but that's a good point, Ma. Okay. So the SatyakAma Jabala story is, as I said, is a relatively famous one. We will talk about the angle that our acharyas have told us about the story. Okay. All right. The source of the story is from the Chandogya Upanishad. Okay. Chandogya Upanishad, as we have encountered stories from the Chandogya Upanishad many times before, right? Does anybody remember any other stories that we have heard from in our classes here? I mean, I'm sure you've heard other stories in other places.
The Janashruti story that you told like a long time ago.
Very good. Excellent. The Janashruti, the Raikwar Janashruti story was a story from the Chandogya Upanishad. This is a story from the same Upanishad. And like, again, one thing to remember is Upanishads try to give us very deep messages, but just so that we understand and remember those things, they try to give it to us in the form of stories, also in the form of stories. Okay. So sometimes these stories, when you read the story, there are some stories where the story itself is small, but within the story, the dialogues are very deep, very profound, because that's the purpose of the Upanishads. Upanishads want to tell us profound things. Anyway, so this is the Chandogya Upanishad is the source of the story of SatyakAma Jabala. So who are the main characters in this story? There is an Acharyan who comes into the story. The name of the Acharyan is Gautama, and there are several Gautamas in the history. So this is one particular Gautama that we encounter in the story of SatyakAma Jabala. And of course, there is Satyakama. Okay, the character whose name the story itself bears, his name was Satyakama, and he is called SatyakAma Jabala because his name the second half of his name comes from the name of his mother. Okay, his mother's name was Jabala. Okay, so since he is the son of Jabala, he bears the name of Jabala. Jabala, literally in Sanskrit, would mean the offspring of Jabala. Okay, so which means he's the son of Jabala. So he has the name SatyakAma Jabala because he is Satyakama. In other words, the name says he is Satyakama, the son of Jabala. Okay, and then there are some mystery characters who show up, like some surprising or some unexpected characters who show up with the story. We'll encounter them as we go along. I don't want to tell you about those characters already because that's part of the message of the story as well. So it's not too many characters, it's just these characters. Okay, so where the story starts is that this young boy, SatyakAma, he was maybe 7 or 8 years old, maybe let's call it 8 years old. He had an urge to learn. He wanted to go to the guru, and he said, I would like to learn the meaning of, so the deep realities of the world. So like we said a few minutes ago, he wanted to go to a guru, not to learn about, sort of mundane things. He didn't want to go to a guru to learn about, mathematics or chemistry or things like that. He wanted to learn about the deep realities of the universe, which means, who is Perumal? Who am I? What is my relationship with Perumal? Or how does this universe function? Like if I say, okay, Perumal, how do I understand the nature of Perumal? These are the type of questions he had at the age of 8. Okay, so he was very eager to learn. He thought, and he realized that there is a guru who he could go to. So like everywhere, right? If you go to a school, you have to fill an application form, and in the application form they will say, what is your address, who is your father, who is your mother, what is your, where do you come from, all these things. Like even today, if you go to a school, you have to fill out a form that says all these things, right? So before he went to the school, he went to his mother and said, could you please tell me who I am? Like, can you give me some more details about where I come from? What gotram do I belong to? Like the gotram is basically tells you your lineage, right? Like, well, your father is this person, this father is that person, and you trace your way all the way back to some of the rishis. Okay, so he was asking his mother, because when I go to the guru, I'm sure he will ask me, tell me more about yourself. I'm only 8 years old. I don't know. Can you tell me more about myself? So he goes to goes to his mother Jabala and says, "Oh mother, please tell me who I am. Like, tell me what gotra I belong to." The Upanishad uses the word kim gotro hamasmi, like which gotra did I came from? Did I come from? But that's sort of indicative of him asking about, tell me more about my family, my father, my forefathers, all those things. That is what he was asking. So when he asked this question, his mother got very depressed. She said, "SatyakAma, I have to confess, I don't know. I don't know which gotra you come from. I don't know what family we come from. I got married when I was very young. And, and I was not, those days, the people got married young. It's not like they gave you all the details, right? These days they ask for all the details of, okay, who am I marrying? What is their name? What have they studied? All those things. I didn't know how to ask all those things. I don't know any of those things. And then something happened, and your father and I, maybe his father died, and then what, we don't know. She says, since then I've been, working in a lot of places, trying to make ends meet. We need some money to sustain ourselves. So I've been working here and there. I really don't know. I don't know. I cannot answer this question. I'm really sorry, but I cannot answer this question. So the SatyakAma was a bit worried. He said, look, if I don't know who I am, right? If I don't know where I come from, if I don't know what my lineage is and all those things, the guru may not take me. The guru might say, I don't know who you are. Why should I take you? Like, why should I accept you as my student? How do I know that you come from the right kind of family and all those things? So, I might get rejected by the guru. So his mother said, look, I don't know. I cannot ask you to lie. So all I can tell you is that you are my son. So if anybody asks you, your name is SatyakAma, somebody asks you, just say you're SatyakAma Jabala. That your mother is Jabala, and you're Jabala's son, and therefore you're SatyakAma Jabala. That's all is your identity. So this boy was very worried. He said, what do I do? When I go to the guru, he's going to ask me this question. My mother is only giving me this much information. He had many options, right? He could make up some story. Obviously, in those days, it's not like people had birth certificates with them, or like you cannot sort of go and verify the local records office saying, okay, who is this boy and all those things. He could have gone to the guru and made up anything. But he decided, okay, you know what, I have to find a way to learn this knowledge. He was very eager to learn. So he went to his guru, and SatyakAma sought out this guru, this Gautama, and the Upanishad says his name was Gautama Haridruta. So he goes to this person, And he says, "Oh Guru, please, I want to learn. I'm very eager to learn." And he also said to his Guru, "I'm eager to learn about Perumal. I'm eager to learn about the universe. I'm eager to learn about Parabrahman, about Jivatma, about how to reach Perumal, all these things." So again, I guess to Anirudh's question, and also to those who were there last week, you can see some commonalities, right? This boy, and Nachiketas wanted to learn more from Yama. Whatever the impediments were, whatever Yama told him in response to his questions, he did not want to stop at anything other than learning the deep realities of the world. So similarly, he went to his Guru and said, "I'm very, very eager to learn the deep realities of the world. Please teach me." Predictably, the Guru said, who are you? Tell me, like, what is your Gotra? Where do you come from? And SatyakAma, as I said, right, he had two options. One, he could have made up some sort of story. But he said, "Oh Guru, I don't know. I'm sorry. I asked my mother. My mother says she doesn't know who we are. She doesn't know. I mean, I could come from, see, because, and why, you may be wondering, like, why is this a big deal? I mean, it's okay. He's just some kid. Because in those days, that Guru, or even today, if you have to teach some deep realities, you have to make sure that the student who is coming to you is capable of learning all those things. And what's a good way to figure out if a person is capable of learning all those things? You can know a little bit about, okay, what kind of exposure is he being given by his family? What kind of family does he come from? Is he just coming here to have fun, or does he? Because the Guru has to spend a lot of energy to go and explain to these things to him, right? So that's why this question was being asked. But SatyakAma was upfront. He was truthful. He said, "I don't know who I am. All my mom asked me to tell you was that her name is Jabala. I am SatyakAma Jabala. These are the only things I know about myself. Please, can you teach me?" So the Guru, and the credit goes to the Guru as well, the Guru found that the way this boy was speaking the truth, he could see the light of the truth in the eyes of the boy. Because the boy had no fear. If he was making up some story, if he was making up some cock and bull story about who he was, he would have been afraid. He would have made he would have been hesitant to say what he was saying. He saw that this boy was forthright, he was upfront, and that he wanted to learn something that not every 8-year-old really understands, that this is the only thing that they should learn about, right? So he was clear about that, and he had truth as the wind in his sails. So the Guru was very impressed by both the boy's eagerness, the urge to learn, and the truthfulness. So you see already two characteristics of that student: the urge to learn, there's truthfulness. And the Guru said, "Okay, I would have otherwise been wondering whether you're capable of learning these things or not." He says, "Naitada brahmano vivaktum arhati samidharga somya." He said, okay, only somebody who is capable of learning these things, only somebody who is indeed, somebody who is, if I teach these things, somebody who is able to learn about the Brahma, about Perumal himself, only that kind of person will come with both the strength, the power of truth, and the confidence to come to me and ask about it. Okay, so he said, "Immediately I will take you in as my student. Go and get go and get the samit. Samit is the twig with which you do you start your journey of doing Kainkaryam to Agni, right? You start with that, and then from there the student learns more and more and more." So he said, okay, as a mark of saying, okay, I have taken you as my student, he said, "Go and get the samit." Okay, so the teacher was able to identify the goodness of the student because of these two characteristics that were evident in his eyes. Okay, the fact that he was eager to learn and that he was truthful. But even though he took him as a student, we have still seen in so many of our previous stories, right? We saw in the story of Indra and Virochana also that that Brahma did not teach them that easily. So similarly, this Guru also said, "Fine, I've taken you as a student. We'll start your education whenever you're ready for it." So he accepted him into school but he didn't put him in the class just yet because he wanted to put him through some more tests. So anyway, so because of the power of the truth, he got enrolled in the school, but the teacher wanted to put SatyakAma to a test. So the teacher one day said, okay, you know what, let's go to the Goshala, the place where they were tending to the cows that were there in the Gurukulam. There were lots of cows there, like so many cows. It was a big Gurukulam, lots of cows. So the Guru basically, of all those cows, he pulled out some 400 cows. Okay, those 400 cows, what was special about those 400 cows? Those were the weakest, leanest, most underfed cows in that Goshala. Okay, and all the other cows were doing well. These were the most underfed cows. And the Guru basically told SatyakAma, these cows need your care. Go take them away and make them strong. And come back when they are strong. These are 400 cows now. Come back when they are, or he said these are 400 weak cows. Come back when they become the 1,000 strong cows, which means two things, right? He has to take those 400 cows, he has to nurse them, make sure that those cows are well fed and they become a little bit stronger, and then they have to grow the herd. So from 400 here they have to go, so it has to grow 2.5 fold to 1,000 cows. So a big test for a young boy, right? He said, go away, you don't know how long it will take. So SatyakAma said he was so eager to learn. So he said, you know what, I will do it. And he took those cows, took them grazing in the meadows and the forests. He took them away, and obviously, it's not an easy task. So a lot of years rolled by because it stretched. Some cows may have died. Some cows would have been stronger. They would have more calves. Those calves have to grow stronger. Some they have to become bigger. So the process of getting to that target that the Guru had set for him took a while. But SatyakAma persevered with that. And he started doing it. And over that period of time, he learned a lot about the world. He learned about how these cows were interacting with each other. He became slowly and steadily. He became more and more mature, because remember that the Guru said go away, but he had to be all alone in the forest. When he was all alone in the forest, he was thinking about life, he was thinking about Perumal, he was thinking about his Guru, he's thinking about what he can learn. And so he became more and more mature, open to the world, open to understanding these things. And he slowly realized that when the Guru said, take these 400 cows and go graze them and let them become 1,000 cows, the Guru was not just giving him a task that was impossible. He was allowing SatyakAma some time to go and be calm and be open to learning, right? So we already see another characteristic of the ideal student, which is basically to become open to learning, to be open-minded. If you're closed-minded, you will not be able to learn. So then what happened was, over a period of time, SatyakAma came closer and closer to achieving the Guru's target, and he became the herd of cows became 1,000 cows. Okay. So when that happened, SatyakAma met an unexpected teacher. The unexpected teacher that SatyakAma met was none other than one of the bulls in the herd itself. Right. So the story of the Upanishad says one of the bulls in the herd, it came to SatyakAma and said, SatyakAma, we are now a herd of 1,000. Your Guru had said, we had heard of you, you have to grow. So I think the time has come for you to take us back to the Gurukulam, because you have achieved the target of the Guru. And SatyakAma said, yeah, okay, fine. I think you're right. And by that time, he had become very, very compassionate guy. He had become very one with the herd. So this bull said, before we go, I want to teach you something. You have been so nice to us. You have been so good to us. There is so much to learn about Brahman. I know your objective is to learn about Perumal, right? And the word Brahman almost literally refers to Perumal. and it basically refers to Perumal in his most, the biggest, the most important form of Perumal is what that word refers to. So let me teach you a little bit. So this, he did not expect to learn from this bull, right? So he said, but still, like suppose a bull. I mean, if in today's day, if a bull comes and tells you, "Let me teach you about the Brahman," what will you do? You might laugh, or we might get afraid, or we might just run away, right? But back then, SatyakAma I said he had an open mind. So he said, "Okay, let me learn from you." So the bull said, "Let me tell. There are so many things to learn about the Brahman. I will teach you 1/4 of what you need to learn about the Brahman." And so he said, "Let me tell you one thing, that the Brahman or Perumal is Prakashaman." He said, Perumal, the first thing you need to learn about Perumal. So the bull said, there are 4 things you need to learn about Perumal. I will tell you one of those things. And he said, it's Prakashaman, meaning that he is radiant, in the sense that he is the one who basically pervades the whole world. It's the knowledge of Perumal that pervades the whole world. Okay, so he is greater than all of us. He is greater than everything that you can think of. It is Perumal's knowledge that pervades everything around us. And SatyakAma was extremely grateful. He said, "Oh, you know what? I have learned from you." And the bull said, "There is a lot more to learn. The next lesson you will get from a very different teacher. Just be on the watch out. You will get a lesson from a very unexpected teacher." And so anyway, the job was to take all the bulls back to the Gurukulam, right? So he started out on that journey. He started the next morning, and they walked for a long time, all the way till the end of the night. And then, as night came, what they did was SatyakAma put all the bulls. They were done for their feeding for the day. He tied them up somewhere. He lit a fire just to keep himself warm, and he decided to sort of rest for the night. So that's what SatyakAma did next. And suddenly the fire started talking to him. The fire, or the Agni, said, "SatyakAma, I have something to teach you. You have persevered with these cows. You're taking them. You brought them to a great situation now. You're taking them back to your guru. I have something to tell you. The bull told you 1/4 of the knowledge that you need to learn about Perumal. Let me tell you the second thing." So the bull said Prakashavan, right? So Perumal is radiant. He said he is Anantavan, that he is limitless. That Perumal, there is like any object you take has limits, right? The cow has some limits. The fire has some limits. You have some limits. But Perumal, he is limitless. He is everywhere. There is no there is no way to restrain Perumal. Even if you restrain, you put him in a box, he's inside the box and he's outside the box. So he's limitless. So you learn this. There are 2 more things you need to learn about Perumal. Again, the fire also said, you will learn this from another couple of unexpected teachers. Just keep an eye out, right? So just think about what he is being told, right? The bull and the fire are saying, you will learn from unexpected teachers. If somebody tells you, okay, you will learn from an unexpected source, and they are going to tell you something that you really want to know, what will you do? You will be constantly on the lookout, right? Saying, okay, who's going to come next? Who's going to come and teach me? So that's the type of mindset SatyakAma had as a student. Okay. Then SatyakAma continued his journey. Similarly, he rested for a day near a big pond, and the pond had a lot of swans in there. And suddenly, a couple of swans came to him and said, "SatyakAma, we are here to continue your education. You learned 2 things already. I'm going to tell you the third thing." Okay. The third thing is Perumal is Jyotishman. Perumal is Jyotishman, meaning he is the biggest light among all those lights. The sun has light, and that light pervades everything that's around us. But Perumal is brighter than the sun. That he is the light that basically to say that he is the power that powers the whole universe. Okay. And similarly, said the swan also said, there's one more thing, but let also come from an unexpected teacher. Same way, he continued his journey and found his 4th teacher. One day they were On the way back, they were near a big water body, and there was some like what you can think of as waterfowl, so like water birds that hover around water bodies. Okay, the Upanishad uses the word matgu, which is basically like some kind of waterfall. So that SatyakAma was taken aback that, okay, this bird is also going to teach me. So the bird said, okay, I'm your fourth teacher. I'm here to teach you. And what the fourth one had to say is that Brahman or Perumal is Ayatanavan. Ayatanavan meaning he is the one who bears everything. He's the one who holds everything up. Okay. So each of these things, first the bull, then the fire, then the swan, then these water birds, all of them came and told SatyakAma unexpectedly. They came and told him 4 different facets of Brahman. So by this time, he had not only learned about these things. I mean, I'm telling you only the highlights of what they said. They gave him more details as well. So each of these 4 things had 4 details each underneath it. So by this time, there were 16 characteristics of Perumal that he had already learned. And this was towards the end of his journey. He came back. He came back to his Gurukulam, and this way he came back to his Acharya. Okay, and when he came to his Acharyan, and he said, "Okay, oh Guru, you asked me to make these into 1,000 healthy cattle. I have done that." Guru was happy, but when the Guru looked at SatyakAma, he was struck. He was struck, saying, "SatyakAma, you don't look like the boy that went away from here. You look like somebody who has learned a whole lot. You look like somebody who is a very learned person, like who knows everything that there is to know." So SatyakAma told him, "Yes, so Guru, when I was on the way back, these 4 things, these unexpected teachers, I did not expect them to tell me these things, but they taught me because I was open-minded. I was ready to learn. They came and told me these things, and that's how I learned, and that's why I think when you look at me, I look enlightened." Okay, but at that point, that is when SatyakAma said something very, very important. He said, "I have learned all these things. I came to you, in fact, when I first came to you, I came to you wanting to know the 16 features of Perumal." Okay, and that's in the Upanishads, it is referred to as Shodasha Kala. Shodasha means 16. 16 Kalas means 16 aspects. 16 aspects of Perumal. This is what I came to you looking to learn. Looks like these 4 things, right? The bull, the fire, the swan, these water birds, all of them told me these things. But my learning will not be correct. My learning will not be complete unless I learn those things from you. It may well be the case, it may be true that all of these different things have told me the right thing, but I will not know if they are right or wrong unless I learn from you. Okay, and that's when he made this very famous statement that Swami Desikan uses this to drive home several points. It says, "Acharya Daiva Vidya Vidita Sadhishtam Prapati." He says, if I want to learn something, I have to learn from an Acharya. Because just think about the story of SatyakAma, right? Like if you apply it to us, say, okay, the fire taught him something, the swan taught him something, and if we say, okay, that is the way to learn, we are sitting in our house looking at the tube light, and suddenly you go to your mother and say, "Oh, you know what? The tube light taught me something." Hey, there's no guarantee that the tube light tells you something, right? You may be sleepy and you may be imagining it. So even if you feel like the tube light is teaching you something, you have to go to the Acharya. The Acharya is the one who has to teach us. Okay. So he said so SatyakAma said, all of these various things taught me because I was open-minded, but please, oh Guru, come and please teach me those 16 aspects of Perumal that I came to learn with you. Please teach me. Okay, and the Guru taught him all those things, and SatyakAma realized that those 4 things, all these 4 teachers, what they taught him was exactly what the Guru had to say. So in his case, he had obtained true knowledge just by being, by persevering and by being open-minded. Okay, but what made sure that he got the actual knowledge was his bhakti for towards his guru, because he said, whatever anybody else teaches me, I want to come back to my acharya. You are my acharya, and if only if my acharya teaches me, is any of this useful. So he was so that's the main message that SatyakAma gave to us. Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions now. So from the story of SatyakAma, what can you think of? We've already seen a few of these things. What can you think of as the characteristics of a good student? Yeah. See where you going?
A characteristics of a good student is being open-minded, and even if someone does teach you, you must clarify with your acharya to make sure it's correct.
Excellent. Okay. Anirudh, I think you raised your hand next.
Yeah, so you have to be eager to learn.
Excellent. Okay. Who else has their hand raised? Shriman, next.
You got to be honest.
Okay, good. Honesty. Okay, good. Okay. Then I have two. I have Vishnu, Lakshmi Narasimhan. Yeah.
My name is Aparajitan.
Oh, Aparajitan. Hi. How are you? Sorry, you're logged into the different name. Hi.
The characteristic is like his characteristic is like persevere and overcome obstacles.
Good, very good. Okay, persevere, overcome obstacles. There's another angle to that. Okay, I think there's one more of you. You're logged in as Vishnu and Sarvesh. Sorry, do you want to unmute?
So I think like one of our great characteristics is love. Like listen to the teacher, even if other people teach you. Just to so you should like listen to your teacher.
Excellent. Okay, listen to the teacher. If the teacher asks you to do something, do some kainkariam, do some service to the teacher, because that is the way you will actually learn things. Yes. See where you want to add something? Yeah. You have your hand raised again.
And you should always trust everyone. I mean, you should always trust your acharya. Sorry.
Good. You have to trust the acharya. If the acharya, so there are two aspects. Very good. Excellent. There are two aspects to that, right? One is you trust your acharya.
I have another moral.
Yeah, Shriman, go on. Yeah. Sorry, was it Shriman or Anush? Okay.
Knowledge can come from different locations.
Knowledge can come from different places. Exactly. Knowledge can come from different places. Okay. Anirudh, you still have your hand raised?
Yeah. And then one more thing. So if your guru says something, it's always for the best. So don't think that he taught you wrong or something like that. It's always for the best.
Excellent. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Perfect. So I think you guys have covered all the aspects of it on the characteristics of a good student. I think that's something we should all bear in mind. Couple of things that really stand out, like all of these things that you mentioned are important. A couple of things that stand out really importantly are: one, when you learn from an acharya. A whole bunch of things can give you knowledge, but you have to go and verify from an acharya. The other thing is, in the process of learning from the acharya, kainkariam to the acharya is very, very important. If you do kainkariam to the acharya, you can get really unique, special knowledge that you may not even get otherwise. Okay, so that's an important thing. So the acharya said, go graze these cows. Like if you to go from 400 to 1,000 cows is not an easy task, right? The acharya said that he did that, and therefore he got all this unique knowledge. It's possible that he may not have got all that if he did not actually do what the acharya said. Anirudh, you still have your hand raised. Do you want to add something?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to.
No, that's okay. It's no problem. That's no problem. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's something that SatyakAma teaches us. Okay. Like we said at the beginning, we have something to learn, similar thing to learn from somebody in our Guru Parampara as well, and that is Kidambi Achar. Okay. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Kidambi Achar, right? Yes?
Yes, I've heard.
He's the cook of Ramanuja, right?
Exactly. Okay. Good.
Cook of Ramanuja.
That's right. Before we go to the story of Kidambi Achan, you have a question. This time you can't see the answer, right, beforehand. Last time you guys were able to see the answer beforehand. Now you can't. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this is the question. What is the birth month and star of Varadaraja Perumal? Sorry. Hasta Nakshatram and the month? Chitra, yeah. I think someone did say Chitra, I think, but your volume was a bit low. Okay, excellent. Chitra Hastam is the birth star of Varadaraja Perumal. We celebrate it as the day that we all had the blessing of Varadaraja Perumal coming to this world to bless us. Now, why am I talking about Chitra Hastam? Because Chitra Hastam is also happens to be the Tirnakshatram of Kidambi Achan, and it just went last weekend was when there was the star of Hastam. We're in the month of Chitra, and Kidambi Achan, in a way, almost coincidentally, makes us sort of remember the points that SatyakAma Jabala's story tell us about service to the Acharya and how you can gain unique knowledge because of service to the Acharya. Okay, so Chitra Hastam is Varadaraja Perumal's Nakshatram and Kidambi Achan's birth Nakshatram. So Chitra Hastam is his Nakshatram as well. Okay, so maybe one more mini quiz question. Kidambi Achan's, we know him by the name Kidambi Achan, right? What was Kidambi Achan's original name? Okay, so his name was Pranatartihara. Okay, Pranatartihara, the literal meaning of the word is someone who gets rid of all the problems or troubles that his devotees have. So Perumal's name is Pranatartihara because he removes all the problems of his devotees. So that was the name that was given to Kidambi Achan. And the story of Kidambi Achan is something you all know, right? So you all hinted at the story. I won't go into all the sort of the deep details of that story because you all know it. But let me just, for those who may not remember the story readily, let me just give you like a 2-minute run through of what his story was. This the person who was called Pranatartihara originally, he became Madaippalli Achan, also known as Kidambi Achan, because of something that happened in the life history of Ramanuja. Actually, maybe does anybody want to tell that story for the benefit of the others? Maybe just briefly.
Can I say?
Okay, I think two of you said at the same time. Maybe one of you can say one half and the other one can say the other half. So Sriman, do you want to say the first half of what okay, maybe Sriman, you can talk about what the problem was. And was it Aparajitan who also asked to say?
Anirudh.
Okay, Anirudh, you can say what the solution was. So Sriman, you want to talk about what the problem was?
Ramanuja's previous cook pod, right?
Sorry, Sriman, your line is a little bit jumpy. So could you try again, please?
I remember that one of his cooks tried to poison Ramanuja. The question was who was going to become Ramanuja's next cook. So when Ramanuja was Sevika in the hot sand.
That part of the story is Anirudh's part of the story. So you've described the problem. Good. It's not literally what you said, but good. I'll clarify at the end. But yeah, Anirudh, you want to talk about the solution?
Guru Sevika Moda. I forgot what was the name of his guru. Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sevika Moda. So it was a really hot day, and the sun was also really hot. So Sevika Moda, Ramanuja's whole body was scorching with heat. So So, but then
Good.
and the Acharya only when the Acharya says you have to get up. So, and none of them said. So Ramanuja kept laying down. And then Kidambi Achan, he saw this and said, is this devotion? Why do you want to make him suffer in the sand? And then the two Acharyas said, you are let's see here. Yeah, you are fit to become Ramanuja's cook. You're devoted to Ramanuja. So from today, you are Ramanuja's cook.
Okay, excellent, very good, excellent. So that was the story. The first half was so both Sriman and Anirudh, excellent job. So basically, what was happening initially was Ramanuja was used to get bhiksha from the streets of Srirangam, like from all the from the homes of the people in Srirangam. He used to receive bhiksha because as sannyasis cannot cook for themselves, right? So what they're supposed to do is to take bhiksha from various homes. So there was some political problem there in Srirangam. We don't need to go into the details of that, but somebody decided that Ramanuja, they wanted to poison Ramanuja. So in one of the homes, they basically bribed the person in the house and said, in the bhiksha that you offer to Ramanuja that day, you have to put some poison in it. And the lady of the house was not on board with this. She did not want to do this. She thought it's a great apacharam to Ramanuja, and she did not. She knew the greatness of Ramanuja, and she said no. But the husband forced her. So what she did was she had to offer that poisoned bhiksha to him, right? But as soon as she offered the poisoned bhiksha, she went and fell at Ramanuja's feet as soon as she offered the bhiksha. So the rule of sannyasis is that when you take bhiksha, until you eat, if somebody falls at your feet, on that day you have to fast. So it was a very good plan that the lady had, because by offering the bhiksha, she did what her husband asked her to do, but by falling at Ramanuja's feet, she prevented him from eating the poisoned food. So she achieved her purpose. Ramanuja actually did not realize why she was falling at her feet. He just said, okay, she's fallen at my feet today, so I cannot eat today. So he did his anushtanams, and then the food he did with that bhiksha, he did aradhanam to Perumal. He offered it and just left it on the banks of the Kaveri. And when he was just sitting there, because he could not eat that day, right? Some animal or the other came and ate that bhiksha and it died immediately. So Ramanuja realized that then it struck him that, okay, this lady must have fallen at my feet because she didn't want me to eat this poisoned food. So what Ramanuja did was, he was so sad, and that's also something we need to learn about our acharyas, that he was so sad not because somebody was poisoning him, that, oh my God, how would like somebody poisons me, what will happen to me? He was sad that some others, like some Sri Vaishnava family that he's taking bhiksha from, he was wondering, what have I done wrong? What apacharam have I done to them that they might go to the extent of poisoning me? And as a result of that, he was so depressed that for days together he decided not to eat. So he would do his anushtanams, offer the food to Perumal, but he would not eat. So that's how he was. So all the Shishyas were very worried about it. They went and told Ramanuja's Acharyas, and then the Acharyas came. The Acharyas had decided that no, Ramanuja cannot go from house to house anymore. It's too risky. He is too important to the Sampradaya. He can take bhiksha, but he'll take bhiksha only at one place. And they wanted to establish a kitchen for Ramanuja. But they had to find the right person. And as Anirudh was saying, they put the Shishyas to a test. There was only one person who was really so, in love with Ramanuja's physical well-being, right? You have to, if you're a cook, you have to be you have to look after the physical well-being of your acharya. So they wanted to test who is that person. So Kidambi Achan, he could not bear that Ramanuja was doing this. He was repeatedly prostrating in front of his acharyas, and they were not asking him to stop. He immediately sort of embraced Ramanuja and said, this is enough, you don't need to, I don't know why your acharyas are doing this to you, and he almost yelled at the acharyas. So they said, we did it only to test you, and from today onwards, you will be the cook of Ramanuja. Why is this relevant? The fact, so because all of these people, this Acharya and Pranatarthihara, or the person who became Madaippalli Achan, he was not anybody, right? He is not a professional cook or anything. He was a great scholar. He was a scholar in his own right. He could, all the very difficult Vedantic concepts that Ramanuja was writing about, talking about, he could, he would be able to understand those things. He was one of the, one of the important Sishyas. But still, because the need of the hour was to become the cook of your Acharyan, he went ahead and did that, right? So he became Ramanuja's cook. And the story in the Guru Parampara, and it's something that Swami Desikan talks about again and again, we'll see that in a minute, that just like SatyakAma, because he went and just did what his Acharya asked him to do, he went to graze the cows, because he could have said, now, you know what, I'm here to learn Vedanta, you're asking me to graze cows. Similarly, this person could have said, I'm here to learn Vedanta from you, you're asking me to cook. They did not say no. As a result of that, Ramanuja had unique blessings to give to Kidambi Achan. So the story goes that, because he was managing Ramanuja's kitchen, at the time of when Ramanuja would have Bhiksha, after he would have Bhiksha, maybe Ramanuja would have a few minutes of free time. He would have some, few minutes, half an hour, whatever, of free time. And in those periods of time, Ramanuja would teach Kidambi Achan things that would normally not be taught even in the rest of the Kalakshepa. He would tell him so many unique, nuanced concepts of our Sampradayam that many Acharyas, or many of the Sishyas of Ramanuja, who later became big Acharyas, they may not have even had the chance to hear. That is because Kidambi Achan was doing such an important and such a close kainkaryam to his Acharyan. That is how he got this unique blessing from Swami Ramanuja. Not only did Ramanuja give him the blessing of teaching him these concepts, Ramanuja exposed him to all the great Acharyas. Among his disciples, Ramanuja's own disciples, there were some great Acharyas, right? And these stories about Kidambi Achan, how he interacted with other Acharyas at that time, we see it not only in the sort of the Guru Parampara history book, but we also see it in the Vyakhyanams. Like if you look at the meanings of the Divya Prabandhams, in so many places, our Acharyas give us stories about many people. And of those stories, we hear, in the interest of time, I won't go into all those details, but we hear of how Kidambi Achan would learn from Ramanuja. We hear about how Kidambi Achan learned the meaning of Thiruvaimozhi from Kuruthalvan, and how he understood not only the meaning of the words, but also he would go deep into how Nammalvar's thinking was, how Nammalvar's way of approaching his bhakti to Perumal was. And these things, Ramanuja exposed Kidambi Achan to these things because he was doing this unique kainkaryam to him. When the need was that, when Trikotiyur Nambi and Periya Nambi, the Acharyas of Ramanuja, when they were looking for someone who would take care of the physical well-being of Ramanuja, Kidambi Achan was the only one who came up and who offered his services in that way, right? And for that reason, he got a unique blessing from Swami Ramanuja. Okay, so that's something that we see in various places. What I put up on the screen here is one of the stories that is mentioned in the Vyakhyanam of Tiruvritam. Tiruvritam is one of the works that Nammalvar wrote, but within the Vyakhyanam of Tiruvritam, there is a little story about how Kidambi Achan was learning Thiruvaimozhi from Kuruthalvan, and how he would get into the depth of the meaning of all of these things with Kuruthalvan. At a later date, we can probably go into the exact details of the story. It's a really lovely story, but that's, the main message is that Kidambi Achan got this unique learning from Ramanuja and all his Sishyas because of his role. And Kidambi Achan, the unique service that Kidambi, at least SatyakAma, if you could go back to the story, SatyakAma Jabala, he did this unique service to his Acharyan. He learned some things. What did we gain from that? I don't know. Maybe we gained the story today, like we learned how to be a good student. Maybe that we learned. But the service that Kidambi Achan did to Swami in Sri Ramanuja's madaippalli, in his kitchen, that has had a profound impact on the entire sampradaya. Okay, for ages to come after Kidambi Achan, after Ramanuja, the effect of the learning of Kidambi Achan in Ramanuja's kitchen can be seen even today. Okay, does anybody want to guess why that is, or what is the
I think
link?
I know.
Yes, Simon, go on.
Because Desikan's mama was Kidambi Appular, right?
Yes, excellent. Okay. Okay, and Kidambi Appular is related to Kidambi Achan. How?
Kidambi Appular is the grandson of Kidambi Achan.
He's the great grandson of Kidambi Achan. That's right.
Yeah, great
So,
grandson. That's what I meant.
excellent. Very good. Perfect. Very good. So the impact of that learning not only helped Kidambi Achan, but all of us even today, because Swami Desikan learned all of these unique things from Kidambi Appular, and Kidambi Appular got all these details from through those learnings of Swami of Kidambi Achan's learning from Sri Ramanuja. Okay, so everything that we hear today from Swami Desikan is because of that unique kainkariyan that he did in the kitchen that day, right? So Swami Desikan, it's not just a story that we have made up. Swami Desikan keeps repeating this, the story of how Kidambi Achan was managing Ramanuja's kitchen, and how some unique knowledge came from Ramanuja to Kidambi Achan, how that has been handed down to him. Swami Desikan talks about that again and again and again. Okay, now, and I've just put two examples here, and I will go through what Swami Desikan is saying here, although one of it is in Sanskrit and one of it is in Tamil. I would like you guys to hear the words that Swami has used, so that we sort of understand how our acharyas used to think. Okay, so Swami Desikan in the first shloka it says, "Iti yatiraja mahanasa parimala parivaha vasitam pivata vibuddha parishan nishevyan vedantodayana sampradaya sudham." This word Vedanta Udayana, the one that I have underlined, that is the word that refers to Kidambi Achan. Okay, Kidambi Achan, so Swami Desikan says, Kidambi Achan learned so many unique things from Ramanuja's by being in Ramanuja's kitchen, that he was almost like an Udayanacharya. Udayanacharya is the most important acharya of Indian logic, the most important guru of Indian logic. So Ramanuja says that Kidambi Achan is almost just like Udayanacharya is the topmost figure in the field of logic. Kidambi Achan is the topmost figure in our field, in the field of our sampradaya. That is the amount of unique knowledge that Kidambi Achan got from Ramanuja. And Swami Desikan says that knowledge has been passed from generation to generation, and whatever I say to you, he says this at the end of one of his biggest books. At the end of it, he says, whatever I say to you, whatever I've said to you in this huge book, it is all coming from the words of that Kidambi Achan. And he uses a beautiful example. The example he says is, like if you go inside a kitchen, right? If they're making they're making food for a lot of people, as soon as you go into the kitchen, what is the first thing you feel? You feel the smell of the food, right? So if you're wearing some clothes and you go into the kitchen, even after you come out of the kitchen, the smell of that food will be sticking to your clothes, right? The same way, Swami Desikan says, the beautiful words of our sampradaya, all the unique insights that I am giving you, it's like the smell of food that sticks to your clothes. He says, the smell of Ramanuja's kitchen is there in all the words. The word Mahanasa means kitchen. He says, Yatiraja Mahanasa Parimala. The sweet smell of Yatiraja's kitchen, Ramanuja's kitchen, is what we see in our words. So what does that mean? That by being in that kitchen, by doing that service to Ramanuja, Kidambi Achan got those insights, and that was being passed on. That is one. The second thing, this Tamil thing that I put, it's part of the same book, and this tells us another angle of how to be a good student. And what Swami Desikan says here is that whatever I have said in before, whatever I will say now, whatever I will say later, so any knowledge that I give to my sishyas or my disciples comes from this Vedantodayana Sampradaya, that basically from Kidambi Achan Sampradaya. And he says these words are madaippalli varte. Madaippalli varte, you know what the word madaippalli means, right? Madaippalli means the kitchen. So he says all these are words from the kitchen, from Ramanuja's kitchen. These words that were heard in Ramanuja's kitchen were passed on to Appullar, and Appullar is given to me. But in I just want to describe the way Swami Desikan expresses that feeling. Swami Desikan, as you know, right? Swami Desikan is one of the greatest acharyas we have ever seen. Swami Desikan, his knowledge, his depth of understanding of things, his power as a poet, there's nobody who can parallel that, right? So if there is anybody who can think originally, write originally, you would say it is Swami Desikan, correct? But the way Swami Desikan describes his own words is, he says, Kidambi Achan learnt this from Ramanuja. Kidambi Achan passed it on to Apullar. Apullar understood everything. But when Apullar taught me, he taught me like somebody would teach a parrot. Like if you raise a parrot in the house, right? You tell the parrot some words, the parrot will repeat after you, right? If you have a parrot growing in the house, you tell the parrot, oh, say good morning, and the parrot will say good morning. Does the parrot understand that it's morning or evening or night? You don't know, right? Even in the night, if you go tell the parrot, say good morning, the parrot will say good morning. So Swami Desikan says that Apullar taught me like he was teaching a parrot. So that is the way our acharyas think. Like when they think of themselves as a student, they don't have any ego. They think of themselves just like, he said, my acharya taught me everything. He taught me as if he would teach a parrot. I'm just repeating what my acharya said. I'm not adding anything of my own. Whereas Swami Desikan was adding so much of his own, right? So that's the amount of humility they have. And this was not made up humility. Like he truly felt that way. And maybe he was able to do all those things because he really, really felt that way towards his acharya, right? So I guess the biggest hallmark, whatever we learned from SatyakAma, whatever we learned from Kidambi Achan, there's nothing bigger than this last message that Swami Desikan has given to us. That if you, as a student, if you have that strong sense of humility and say, whatever I'm saying, my acharya said to me, and you have to believe that. It's not just to make people believe. If you believe that, then there is nothing to stop you. You can be the best shishya, you can be the best person with knowledge. Okay, so I guess we have to sort of think about those words of Swami, and I sort of purposefully put those words in Tamil and Sanskrit here, just so that when you go back and think about it, think about how our acharyas were thinking about their own knowledge, about themselves as students also. So I think that is we are so blessed to be associated with these acharyas, and we should always feel sort of deeply grateful for even knowing who Swami Desikan is. Okay. Anyway, so before we finish, one more quiz question. All right. So this Acharya of Swami Desikan, Swami of Adinachala Swami, also has his Tirunakshatra on Chitra Hastam. So this whole thing we talked about Varadaraja Perumal, we talked about Kidambi Achan. One more Acharya who's an Acharya of Swami of Adinachala Swami, also has Tirunakshatra on Chitra Hastam. Who is that Acharya? Excellent, perfect. So who was that? Who gave the answer? Raga. Okay, Raga, excellent, very good. So it was Gadikachadam Ammal. His Tirunakshatra also fell on the day of Chitra Hastam. So next year when Chitra Hastam comes, remember it's a great day. It's the nakshatram of our own Perurulalan, as well as Kidambi Achan and Gadikachadam Ammal. And we know that Adinachala Swami was doing his Kalakshepam at the feet of Gadikachadam Ammal in Kanchipuram, and his Taniyan is Namo Varadavishwara Nayanam Pradayane Vatsyaya Varadharyaya Vajini Harabaswate. With those words and with Acharya Taniyan, maybe we can stop. And maybe to go back to Anirudh's question, in just in 2 lines, if I was to describe the story of Nachiketas, we should go back and look at the YouTube video, Anirudh. I think that's why these recorded videos are put up on YouTube. Narayana Prasad Mama did a great job of going through that story. I'll just tell you the story in 2 lines. Nachiketas was sent to Yama because his father got angry with him for something that happened, and Yama was happy with Nachiketas and gave him a few boons. Nachiketas said, "Okay, please bless me so that my father is not angry with me." But also at the same time, he asked Yama to teach him all the deep realities of the universe. Yama kept saying, "Oh, I'll give you this. I'll give you this. I'll give you a piece of chocolate. I'll give you a new watch. Why don't you just go away? Why don't you stop with that?" But Nachiketas kept persisting, and he kept begging with Yama, saying, "Please give me this knowledge." And Yama was so convinced by this boy's urge to learn that's how he gave him that knowledge. So SatyakAma's urge to learn, Nachiketas' urge to learn. So from the story of Nachiketas, we saw a lot about the actual things that Yama told him, but also underlying thread is how persevering a student Nachiketas was. So in fact, the story of Nachiketas appears in so many places. It comes in the Kathopanishad. It comes in other places in the Vedas. The story is repeated so much because it tells us also about how to be a good student. So should we say Acharya Tanyan and stop? But before that, are there any other questions? Anything?
Thank you, Mama. Yeah, so I just wanted to know the similarity. So thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So shall we say Acharya Tanyan? Sri Ranganath Shatagopayati Indradrashtam Lakshmi Summa Shatajit Karuneka Patram Sri Rangavira Raghurat Shatako Bhakrutyam Vedanta Deshikayati Indramaham Prapadye Srimad Rangashadari Samyavira Lathagamanthadvayam Srimad Vira Raghutvahat Shatajit Padar Vindashrayam Srimad Vedavatam Sudeshikete Karunyavikshaspadam Severangadrina Shasanavasham Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Deshiketi Shatakshalabhatrayan Tatarmanavatyagunam Bhuthakriyam Narayana Jetitur Rekapa Viktam Sri Ranganath Itishekrama Sri Amaha Srimate Sri Vanchadago Sri Vedanta Deshiketi Indramaha Deshikaya Namaha Srimate Sri Lakshmi Sumadive Paduka Sevaka Sri Vanchadago Sri Narayana Indramaha Deshikaya Namaha Srimate Sri Vanchadago Sri Ranganath Indramaha Deshikaya Namaha. Thank you, everyone.
Dhanyawadaha.